Hello everyone, today we are going to learn about hierarchy of classification. So hierarchy of classification, correct order, life, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. These are the levels in the hierarchy of a classification. So these are all terms given by a scientist called Linnaeus. All the terms means species, genus, and family, order, class, phylum, kingdom. These all words are given by first time a scientist called Linnaeus. Linnaeus two kingdom classification also he proposed. According to his two kingdom classification, one of the kingdom is nothing but plants, that are also called as plant. In plant kingdom, all the plants he included, and one another kingdom is nothing but animalia. In animalia kingdom he included all the animals. So after this scientist Thomas Whittaker, another scientist, he given 5 kingdom classification. So what groups he included in that 5 kingdom classification is Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So in Monera group he included all prokaryotic organisms. So actually generally the organisms two types, either prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Prokaryotic means if the organism not having nucleus, generally those organisms we call as prokaryotic. If the organisms having nucleus, that we call as eukaryotic organisms. See here in next group, Protista group, he included unicellular organisms but eukaryotic. Monera he included prokaryotic organisms. In Protista he included eukaryotic and unicellular organisms. So Protista is the second group in Thomas Whittaker classification. And now plants, Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia, like these 5 groups are there in 5 kingdom classification. So here plants, generally we know that all the plants are autotrophs. Autotrophs nothing but they can prepare their food materials by themselves. Auto means trope, self, and trophs means nothing but plants. So these animals they can prepare the food material by themselves. Animals, all animals are heterotrophs. Nothing but they are unable to prepare the food materials by themselves. So that's why they are depending on other animals or other living beings for the purpose of food. Fungi is one of the type of heterotrophs, and in heterotrophs this fungi related to a group called saprophytes. See what is meant by saprophytes? Saprophytes nothing but the fungi which can depends upon the dead and decaying material. Already plant bodies or the animals dead bodies if it is there, upon the surface of the dead bodies or the material, not only dead bodies, if any rotten material if it is there, upon the surface of that rotten material, these fungi they can do the decomposition process and they can absorb the food from that type of living beings. So saprophytes are nothing but the animals which can take the food from the dead and decaying matter. And microbiologist nothing but the scientist who studies about microorganisms. So microbiologist given information regarding thermophiles and halophiles. Here thermophiles meaning is nothing but the bacteria which can survive in very hot condition areas also. More temperature areas also, if any bacteria, if it can survive, those type of bacteria generally we call as thermophiles. And halophiles nothing but the bacteria which can survive in salt conditions. The area which salinity if it is more also, this type of bacteria they can survive. Those type of bacteria we call as halophiles. Next, this bacteria differs from the ancient bacteria due to changes in DNA structure. Which bacteria? These are thermophiles and halophiles. These two bacteria they are different from the ancient bacteria. Ancient bacteria are nothing but the primitive bacteria which are evolved primitively in the nature, basic type of bacteria. And why these thermophiles and halophiles, they are different from these ancient or primitive bacteria? Nothing but because of the changes in DNA structure. Actually, in the DNA depends on the changes in the DNA structure only the varieties or the variation we can observe in the species. So here also, because due to the changes in the DNA structure, some these thermophiles and halophiles, they can differ from the ancient type of bacteria. Next, it is generally thought that all cells come from a common ancestor cell, termed as a last universal common ancestor. By the name itself, we can understand that LUSA is nothing but the cells which are evolving now, they are coming from the ancestor cells, previous cells. So this concept generally we call as last universal common ancestor. Here Luca eventually evolved in 3 different cell types. Depends on the concept called Luca. Actually the cell types are 3 types. First, archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Bacteria having 3 different types: archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Archaea and bacteria, these two are prokaryotic. So prokaryotic nothing but the organisms which are not having membrane bound nucleus. Those type of organisms we call as prokaryotic organisms. See, pro means primitive, karyon means nucleus. So the organisms which not having karyon, nothing but nucleus, we call as prokaryotic organism. We can give bacteria as an example. So nuclear material. So here in these 2 organisms, in archaea and bacteria, there is no particular nucleus. So nucleus is nothing but a nucleus having a fluid like material called nucleoplasm also. The parts of the nucleus is nothing but nucleoplasm will be, and also nucleus membrane also will be. Upon the surface of the nuclear membrane like this, some type of holes also will be, and these holes generally we call as nucleopores. So here what we are telling, prokaryotic, this archaea and bacteria prokaryotic, nothing but there is no particular nucleus. So then where that nuclear material need to be present? In these organisms, the nuclear material, it is present in the cytoplasm only. Here what is meant by cytoplasm? Cyto means cell, plasm means nothing but the fluid like material. The fluid which is present inside the cell generally we call as a cytoplasm. So in these organisms generally nucleus is absent, that's why the nucleoplasm, it is present in the cytoplasm only. Now the cell wall of bacteria contains peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan is one of the substances which is present in the cell wall of a bacteria. Generally plant cells, they are having some lignin or pectin as the cell wall materials. Generally cell membrane having a material called cellulose, but here bacteria cell wall, it contains a peptidoglycan material. And eukarya, nothing but eukarya contains eukaryotic cells. All the eukarya type of bacteria, here we discussed already only first 2 types, archaea and bacteria, these 2 are prokaryotic, like that we discussed. But eukarya nothing but the third one, eukarya nothing but eukarya contains eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic meaning nothing but opposite to prokaryotic. Eukaryotic cells generally they are having nucleus or karyon. All the cells which are there in the eukaryotic organisms, in the cells the karyon or the nucleus is present. So this is about today's topic.